Infamous pirate Captain William Kidd remains one of the most intriguing and mysterious figures in maritime history. Born in Scotland around 1645, Kidd started his career not as a pirate, but as a privateer sanctioned by the English crown to protect merchant vessels and attack enemy ships. He was respected for his seamanship, bravery, and loyalty, and in the early years of his career, he was celebrated as a man of honor who fought for his country. However, his life would take a dramatic turn, and he would soon be remembered as one of the most infamous pirates of the golden age of piracy. What makes his story even more fascinating is the legend of a vast treasure hoard that he allegedly buried, a mystery that has captured the imagination of treasure hunters for over 3 centuries. Kidd's career as a privateer began in the Caribbean, where he earned fame by capturing French ships during times of war. The English crown recognized his talents, and by 1696 he was entrusted with command of the Adventure Galley, a heavily armed ship designed to hunt pirates and enemy vessels. Kidd's mission was not to plunder indiscriminately, but to protect English interests on the seas and bring rogue pirates to justice. However, life at sea was never simple. Ships faced storms, disease, mutiny, and the constant temptation of wealth. Kidd and his crew sailed across the Indian Ocean, but fortune was not on their side. The turning point came in 1698 when Kidd captured the Kadic Merchant, an Armenian ship sailing under French passes but owned by Indian merchants. This seizure proved disastrous, because while the ship technically sailed with French protection, many of the owners were influential figures under the protection of the Mughal Empire, one of England's most important trading partners. The East India Company, furious at Kidd's actions, accused him of piracy. Overnight, Kidd went from being a celebrated privateer to being branded an outlaw. The political backlash was enormous, and the English government could not afford to appear lenient. Kidd's fate was sealed. When Kidd returned to the American colonies, he attempted to clear his name. He met with colonial governors, including the famous Lord Bellamont of New York, hoping to present evidence of his innocence. But by then, powerful voices in England were already calling for his capture. He was arrested in Boston in 1699 and shipped back to London to stand trial. The trial was heavily publicized, and Kidd was portrayed as the embodiment of piracy, even though his crimes were arguably no worse than many privateers of his day. In 1701, after a sensational trial, Captain Kidd was hanged at Execution Dock in London. His body was later displayed in chains on the banks of the River Thames, a grim warning to others who might take up the pirate's life. Yet Kidd's death did not end his story. In fact, it gave birth to one of the greatest treasure legends in history. Rumors spread that before his arrest, Kidd had hidden vast amounts of treasure in secret locations. Some believed he buried gold, silver, and precious gems on remote islands, while others whispered that he concealed chests of loot along the coastlines of North America. The idea of buried pirate treasure was not common at the time, but Kidd's story ignited centuries of speculation, inspiring novels, legends, and countless treasure hunts. One of the most famous claims was that Kidd had buried treasure on Gardiner's Island, just off the coast of Long Island, New York. Historical records show that Kidd did indeed leave a small cache of valuables with the Gardiner family, likely in hopes of negotiating his freedom. These items were later turned over to authorities and used as evidence in his trial. However, the fact that treasure was physically recovered fueled even more speculation that Kidd had hidden far more wealth elsewhere. If one cache existed, why not others? Over the centuries, treasure hunters have scoured locations across the Caribbean, New England, and even as far away as Madagascar. One persistent rumor claimed that Kidd's richest hoard was buried on Oak Island in Nova Scotia, a site that has drawn treasure seekers for over 200 years. The so-called Money Pit of Oak Island has been dug and explored countless times, with traps, tunnels, and mysterious artifacts uncovered, but no conclusive proof of Kidd's treasure has ever been found there. Others believe Kidd may have hidden riches in the Caribbean or along the African coast, areas where he frequently sailed. What makes the legend even more compelling is that treasure maps supposedly linked to Kidd have surfaced from time to time. These maps, often written in cryptic symbols or riddles, have sparked new waves of treasure hunting. Many of them have been dismissed as forgeries created to exploit the legend, but each new discovery keeps the mystery alive. Kidd's name has become synonymous with the very idea of buried pirate treasure, and his legend even inspired classic adventure tales like Robert Louis Stevenson's Treasure Island. But the story does not end with myths and speculation. In recent decades, modern archaeologists and marine explorers have joined the search, using advanced technology to scan ocean floors and remote coastlines. In 2007, a shipwreck believed to be Kidd's Katig merchant was discovered off the coast of the Dominican Republic, providing tangible evidence of his voyages. Artifacts recovered from the wreck gave historians new insight into his life and the kinds of riches he pursued. Still, the great treasure hoard that legend promises has never been located. The question remains, did Captain Kidd ever actually have a massive treasure to bury? Some historians argue that the rumors were exaggerated. They suggest that Kidd may have only had a modest amount of loot, most of which was confiscated by authorities. Others insist that the accounts of buried treasure were deliberately spread by Kidd himself in hopes of bargaining for his life. If people believed he could lead them to untold riches, he might avoid execution. Unfortunately for him, the strategy failed, but the myth endured. What is undeniable is the impact of Kidd's story on global culture. His life and death became a symbol of both the romance and danger of piracy. For generations, storytellers, adventurers, and treasure hunters have kept his name alive, chasing after the dream of finding his hidden hoards. Every rumor of a discovery, every artifact pulled from the sea, and every mysterious map that surfaces adds another layer to the legend. Even today, explorers continue to mount expeditions in hopes of uncovering what may lie beneath the sands of forgotten islands or the depths of the ocean floor. One man in particular made it his life's mission to track down Kidd's treasure. Samuel Huntington, an American treasure hunter in the 19th century, dedicated decades of his life to studying the pirates' movements and searching likely sites. He pored over maps, journals, and local folklore, convinced that Kidd had left behind markers and clues pointing to the location of his hidden fortune. Huntington's tireless search never yielded the jackpot he dreamed of, but his work helped cement Kidd's story as one of the greatest treasure legends in American folklore. The search for Captain Kidd's treasure represents more than just the hunt for gold. It reflects a universal human fascination with mystery, adventure, and the promise of discovery. Treasure hunting is as much about imagination as it is about reality. Each generation reinvents Kidd's legend, weaving new theories and stories into the tapestry of his myth. Whether his treasure lies buried in some secret cove, lost at the bottom of the sea, or never existed at all, the idea of it continues to capture the human spirit. Even now, over 300 years after Kidd's death, the mystery endures. His name echoes not just in history books, but in popular culture, literature, and film. The image of the pirate who may have buried vast riches in hidden corners of the world fuels dreams of adventure for anyone who has ever gazed out at the horizon and wondered what lies beyond. Perhaps one day, a determined explorer will stumble upon a chest of gold coins bearing Kidd's mark, proving once and for all that the legend was true. Until then, Captain Kidd's story remains one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries, a blend of fact and myth that continues to inspire treasure hunters and storytellers alike. Would you like me to expand this with more dramatic storytelling details, like sea battles, storms, and suspense, to make it even more cinematic for YouTube narration?